time to do some editing. Computer glasses on, of course. Cousins are coming back in a few weeks, so that's pretty Gucci. Alright, let's check and see what we have on my channel. Let's check. Nope, there's the run for the Sanix. Alright, let's go to videos. Alright, yep, all that. And wait, 60? 60, let's go! Alright, wait, let's check. Now they have 60. Alright, let's check. Alright, let's check the comments. Right? Alright, so gotta go. Really? Right, let's like, why would you even think that? What's up, guys? Bill here, LochanLightning today. I just wanted to say, thank you for 60 subscribers, and as soon as I reached 60 subscribers, I said, I thought to myself, I'm gonna give my subscribers a name now. As you see, Bros Gaming has given his subscribers a name, the Fenians, or I think that's how it's pronounced. Just other YouTubers are giving their subscribers a name. We've reached 60 subscribers, and I'm gonna name my subscribers the Lightning Bolts. Yep, the Lightning Bolts. Yep, I'm naming them the Lightning Bolts. And for this video right now, this is just a quick pointer. For this video, we're gonna be trying something new. Hope you guys like it. I'm very good at this stuff. Which you're about to see. And yeah, I'm just want you guys to know what I'm about to show you. And if you like more, remember, give a big zap to that comment or subscribe button, and give a big zap to the comment button. You will see more of it, as I just said. And if you guys like it, so yeah, enjoy. This is top 7 facts about NASA's Apollo program. Number 1. A lot of you have seen old footage of Saturn V takeoffs, and most of you have probably wondered, what are these seemingly white chunks of paint falling off the Saturn V on takeoff? Well, this is actually not white paint. This is actually remnants from the super cold liquid oxygen that's inside the tanks. This is just condensation from the super cold liquid oxygen inside the fuel tanks, except that this stuff is so cold that instead of water droplets, like if you leave a very cold water bottle, you'll see water droplets starting to stream down the side. Except this stuff is so cold that instead of cold ice or water droplets, you get almost solid dry ice. Almost solid dry ice. Because this stuff is just so cold that it almost just removes all the moisture from within itself, making it almost as hard as solid ice, and almost as hard as roof tiles. But this is not a danger to the Saturn V, as it just vibrates and shakes off on takeoff. Number 2. This one I think is actually quite sad, because in 1969, just after Apollo 11, Apollo 12 was getting ready to go to the moon. This crew consisted of Commander Pete Conrad, Lunar Module Pilot Alan Bean, and Command Module Pilot Dick Gordon. But the Command Module Pilot did not venture onto the moon with the Commander and the Lunar Module Pilot. They stayed in orbit in the Command Module circling the moon until they rendezvoused with the Lunar Module within 2 days, or the J mission's 3 days. So he didn't walk on the surface on that mission, but judging by the crew rotation of waiting 3 flights, backing up that flight, waiting another 3 flights, and then flying that mission, he knew that he would command Apollo 18. But here's where the sad part comes in. While he was training and backing up for 15, but he got word from NASA that Apollo 19 and 18 were cancelled due to budget cuts, and the news hit Gordon hard. And this is where the sad part comes in, because he never actually got to walk on the moon. One more mission and he would have walked on the moon. NASA, come on, you all this money, but I guess so because of the budget cuts at the time. It was 1970s. But yeah, it's sad. He never got to walk on the moon, and yeah, just this sort of dream was crushed. I know it's dramatic, but yeah. Number 3. Most of us think of the lunar module as this big, tough thing that can resist the impact of landing on the moon. But really, the skin of this thing was just about as thin as a piece of paper. That's how they actually landed on the moon with this thing. It was so thin that actually NASA said one of the technicians that was working on it dropped the screwdriver and it went through the floor. Yeah, that's how thin and light this thing is. Actually, NASA had a weight battle with the lunar module because they needed to make the ascent stage of the lunar module as light as possible for the ascent engine. So the reason why they needed to make it as light as possible was for the ascent stage, because when that little engine lit up and pushed it away from the descent stage, still on the moon, when it thrusted upward, pushing it towards lunar orbit, it needed to actually push it away, because remember, it needed to be light as possible, because remember, they're bringing back lunar rocks and other lunar dust and lunar debris that's on the moon rocks and dust, and that they need to bring that back to bring it to orbit and rendezvous with the command module. It needs to be light already, so the amount of weight put into the lunar module doesn't add to the weight that it already has. So they need to make this thing as light as possible, and doing so made the metal extremely thin. Number 4. The way the command module would enter the atmosphere is a key part in the ending of the mission, because if you came in too steep, you would burn up. If you came in too shallow, you would bounce off the atmosphere like a stone skipping on a pond because of the atmosphere and density. The right way to enter the atmosphere is this blue and yellow line. The way they would enter the atmosphere is something called aerobraking, the atmosphere bringing the orbit lower and lower. Except with the Apollo, this atmospheric entry would bring the orbit down in one go. Also, because they would do something called skip gliding, or skip. So they would put the command module in a sort of a blunt angle position. So one of the leading edges is up and down, not upside down, just slightly sideways. So when they go into the atmosphere, they would go up, and they lost enough speed, so they start falling in the atmosphere, and then another re-entry would occur, then sort of glide a little bit from the speed, then the drogues would deploy, then the mains would open. Number 5. NASA originally planned to go to Tycho crater, which is below and a little bit to the left of the moon, on the bottom. It's a huge crater. If you have a good eyesight, you'll notice it with the naked eye. It's one of the biggest craters on the moon. NASA originally planned to go to it, and this orbital path shows how astronauts might maneuver the lunar module to go there. They would start by lunar orbit insertion with the yellow line orbit there. Then once in orbit, possibly, or they might inject it beforehand, but once in orbit, they might thrust upward to sort of slant their orbit toward Tycho crater. Once they're there, they would undock the lunar module, then the rest would take place. This descent path shows how the lunar module might have sort of descended to Tycho crater. They might have lit the descent engine a little bit beforehand to land short of the crater, or land near the Surveyor 7 landing site. Number 6. A team at NASA wanted to go to Tycho crater because it was on the backside of the moon. Plus, that means it had never seen Earth light before, only light from the sun. they wanted to go to Tsiolkovsky crater. Sorry if I'm pronouncing that wrong. It's very hard to pronounce. Like, look at that word. Anyway, so yeah, they wanted to go to Tsiolkovsky crater, which was on the backside of the moon. This was a lava flow region crater, which would make it relatively smooth at the bottom. It would still be rugged, but it would be relatively smooth. But getting there would be much harder. And if they were to land on the backside of the moon at Tsiolkovsky crater, they would need some way of communication. They thought about this, and the team proposed that they would use a pair of relay satellites in lunar orbit. So this is a diagram of how it would actually work if the plan was actually set in motion. Number 7. This is astronaut Jim Irwin, or James Irwin. He was an actual Christian who went to the moon. The commander of this mission, this was Apollo 15 by the way, was Dave Scott. The mission was to find a piece of primordial crust on the moon. So they landed at Hadley Mountain, which is a very high mountain on the moon, measuring 11,000 feet high. They actually did find a piece of primordial crust, and Jim sort of mentioned it as it was on a pedestal, like it was being presented to him. And that's actually how it does look. He was a Christian, I'm pretty sure there's no coincidence why. Anyway, so also, when he was getting ready to leave, he placed a red Bible on the rover just before lunar ascent. Alright guys, there it was, and if you guys want to see more, remember to give a big zap to that comment or subscribe button. Sorry if it was low quality. Remember, this is my first one. So yeah, if you guys want to see more, like I just said, comment and you will see more. Alright, so that's all for now, everyone. Take care, everyone.